Okay, so we're going to jump ahead to the last one, first of all. So the big question that we don't know the answer to, so I always feel that I need to apologize. If people came thinking I had the definite answer, I don't. No one knows exactly the right amount. How much is enough versus not, which is being too much. The thing that most people agree on is that you should say submaximal. So do you know what that means? So you're not going to try to do really heavy-duty weight training with the heaviest weight you can lift with a certain muscle. You're not going to do that because that's probably going to be too hard on your muscle. And the next day you'll pay for it. I wouldn't go for the burn, right? So I'd stay short of that, yeah. I mean, that's what generally, but most people feel, because I should take a show of hands. So those of you who do exercise, how many people exercise regularly? Okay, good. So, so if you do, I would pay attention to how your body responds to sort of going for the burn, because if people have been used to being really sort of competitive athletes, and then they realize they had something going on in their muscles, and they realize they had Pompe, it can be really hard to shift to a lower level of exercise, because it feels like you're not doing anything for your muscles. So it's very frustrating. So people that I've known that have, I've known people that have been competitive athletes, and then they're sort of grappling with how to strengthen with Pompe, and it's frustrating. I would pay close attention to how you feel the next day, how you feel afterwards, and how you feel the next day, in terms of whether your muscles cramp up or feel really tired, or whether you have a harder time moving the next day, and that's usually then you did too much the day before. So stay submaximal. That's a good reference for those of you who like to read. Fowler in 2002 pulled together lots of information on exercise in general. And Dr. Slonim, everyone know his information? Probably. Yeah, he's okay. So Dr. Slonim he's probably studied exercise in Pompe more than anybody else. And he says that you should go to 60 to 65% of your maximum oxygen consumption or maximum heart rate for age. So that's a little bit lower. So the general public at large, most people say, yeah, go more for like 80, 85% of your maximum heart rate when you're exercising. But he does say to stay a little bit below that. And he recommends daily submaximal aerobic exercise for 40 to 45 to 50 minutes. Now, I know a lot of people that can't do that, people with Pompe that can't do that. And if they do that much, they tell me they're too wiped out for too many days. So I trust what their bodies tell them. So I would go with what you think. Yes, please speak up if you have any comments about any of this. Yes? The pathophysiology, that's why I was showing those slides at the beginning. Yeah, it's really because of the leakage of the glycogen out of the lysosomes, and then the muscles do begin to degenerate. And so, but it's good to avoid disuse atrophy, but not to overdo it, because that can be additionally damaging. They do have atrophy. Now you have to find atrophy. Yeah, we should talk later maybe. Yeah. So that's what he recommends, but I also think it's very important to pay attention to how your own body reacts. And do you know what they mean by, so aerobic or overall exercise is more like functional exercise. So instead of doing that heavy-duty weightlifting with lots of resistance for specific muscles, it's better to do most people think it's better to do overall things like biking or cycling or using a treadmill gently. Not necessarily uphill, because it's a lot of resistance, unless unless your body does okay with that. So it's more using all of your muscles together to exercise, rather than specifically doing heavy-duty resistance with each muscle group. Anybody have any comments on that so far? No? Okay. So I should wrap up soon? Please. That's fine? Okay, so guidelines, so if you're too exhausted afterwards the next day, it was probably too much. If you have a lot of muscle cramping afterwards, it's probably too much. This is an X and flex. So when people look at cycling, I strongly recommend that somebody tries different types of cycles to see which one works the best with their body. There are millions of types of exercise bikes out there. You can do a stationary bike where you're sitting vertically. You can do a recumbent bike. I would try and see which one works the best for you. The X and flex is active assist, so you can program it so it gives you some resistance in the portion of the range where you're pedaling if you have good strength in that range. But if you need assistance in a portion of the range, it'll kick in and help you pedal. So it's sort of a nice in-between. Oh, I was going to show you. Should I show you one movie? This is a, oh. Yeah, probably. Cable connection. That one. I was going to show you. This is another kind of bike we have that we use on flat surfaces. Oops, wait. Blink back. There we go. That's kind of a fun one to use indoors. Yeah, you'd have to. No, why can't I go anywhere? I was going to show you the progression for people that think too that that you can't get. This is someone who was regaining walking, who hadn't walked in many years, and so that was kind of nice. But I'm worried I'm over time.
This is pump patient, all right?
I'm sorry.
Pump patient.
Oh yeah, Pompeii. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'll come back to this if you want. Let me make sure there's nothing else I was supposed to show you. And then we can go back to that. Remember to look at any adaptive equipment that makes things helpful for energy conservation. Different kinds of motorized mobility, computer access, say voice-activated computers, different kinds of touch screens, all different things like that. Different kinds of mobility devices, if that helps you be more efficient when you're out and about, going long distances. You know the power push, you know these push rims?
Yes.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about them because then they make the chair really...
When you have a good arm...
It's only when you have a good arm function that makes the chair heavier. So I have only a few people that really like these, to be honest with you. But motorizable mobility, I think people should get top of the line, get as many different positioning things as they can. The only one I'm aware of in the States, but I know you have a different one, is the Permobil, which is from Sweden, is the only one I know that you can actually push the joystick and stand yourself up, and you can drive while you're standing or when you're sitting, and you can lie down and all that. So I like all those things. It does that, so you can stand yourself up. It's very expensive, yes.
And it's also not...
It didn't work for you, right?
No, because the thing is that I'm sitting in a seating shell that supports my sitting.
Yes.
And so when you use seating shell that's fully adapted on the body, then it will not work.
It's a very good point, and I didn't used to, but you can actually, at least in the States, you can get custom seating for the Permobil, but I get my guys there to do that. So you're right. And I didn't used to use Permobil in the past because they didn't have good seating, but I can get that more custom. Yeah, I can get more custom seating now.
The seating shells adjusted to the part.
Has to be adjusted, yes. I'm a very strong believer in optimal seating on a chair to support you in the right position. Yeah, absolutely. And then standers, I think, can be great for stretching. There are all different kinds of standers on the market, where one is like the Easy Stand hydraulic one. It's like a desk. So that actually, you sit down and right at a desk, and then you push a lever, and it will stand you up and support you in standing so you can stay stretched out. If people need help with lifts and being independent and lifting themselves, there are also a lot of different things on the market for that. All different kinds. And I would say remember that you should be able to turn to a PT for help in any of these areas. And so make sure you speak up, again, about weakness or fatigue or pain or decreased endurance, and to hopefully get help with those things. And you already are doing this, or you wouldn't even be at this meeting, but just to make sure that, you know, that we view you as a member of the team with your own expertise. And so I think, I mean, I may know PT, and I can come talk to you about PT, but for you to bring your expertise about your own body, and then as a team you can work together to find out the optimal amounts of exercise to do so far.